And they're like, okay, if you were on the show, what would you want to be made into? And I still had no idea what the heck I was going to say at this point. What's up guys, it's Will and welcome back to my channel. In 2010, when I was a sophomore in high school back in New York, MTV actually came to my high school to recruit people to be in the upcoming season of MTV's MADE. It wasn't the first time that MTV came to my school to recruit people. They've done it in the past for other shows, and there were actually some kids from our school that were selected. So them coming back to our school is kind of a big deal because there's a history of people from our school being selected to be in the next season of whatever show they're coming to select for. So when everyone found out that they were coming, things got a little crazy. So a few days prior to them coming to our school, we were told they were coming and that they would host open auditions and anyone can go. It was going to be at the end of the day on the school. I think it was like a Friday, that anyone who wanted to audition could go. Everyone in the school was like frantically trying to figure out what they would say if they were selected to be in the show or in their interview, ask what they wanted to be made into. Everyone was like going crazy trying to figure out what they wanted to say. I heard people tossing around a bunch of ideas. Like some people were saying I want to be a singer, and I feel like there was a season of that. Some people were saying I wanted to be like a wrestler or stuff like that, you know, and I feel like those are very generic things. So I spent all day trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to say, and I wanted to be more original. I didn't want to pick something that was generic that, you know, 5 other people might say or 10 other people might say, or one of the past seasons said. You know, I wanted to be the only person that said it. I wanted it to be unique, you know, and when I was saying it to the MTV people, I wanted them to be like, oh yeah, that's really original. Let's pick him because that would be cool to have a show about this. You know, the fact is that there's a lot of people in the world, a lot of people probably have auditioned other than my school, so there probably weren't a whole bunch of options left, but in my head, I thought I'll pick something original that they haven't heard yet. The day came for the auditions and everyone was even crazier than before. I think people were more excited because they were like, one of us is going to get picked, someone's going to get picked, it's going to be so exciting. You know, the end of the school day came, everyone rushed to the auditorium. It was a line that basically consisted of my entire school because everybody wanted a shot to be in the next season of MTV MADE. I remember waiting in the line for like over an hour, maybe even 2 hours, because they only took one person at a time. They weren't in for very long, so you know, you were in for like 5 minutes and then you came out. So I remember there were people I knew who went in before me. They would go in and come out and they would tell all of us about how nervous they were and how scary it was and how the people were just like kind of like stone-faced and you didn't know if you did well or not. You know, that made everyone more nervous. It made me nervous because I've always had stage fright, and I was already nervous to begin with because I had no idea what I was going to say. Still to this point, I'm waiting in the line to go in for my turn. At this point, I'm kind of desperate for an idea, so I'm listening to what other people are saying they're going to do. I don't want to copy them, but I'm hoping something will trigger another idea into my head. You know, I'm moving closer and closer to the doors of the auditorium and like nothing is coming to my mind. Eventually the person in front of me goes and like, you know, we're like, oh my gosh, this is so nervous. And so they went ahead, went to their turn, came out and told me to come in. I went in. Because it was empty, it felt huge. There was only 5 people up in the front of the auditorium. There was like 3 people from MTV, 1 person operating a camera, and then there was like our principal right there just making sure that students were, you know, behaving. So I walked in, they told me to sit down in front of the camera, which was kind of nerve-wracking for me because I didn't really know why they were recording me. I didn't know if this would be on the show. Now that I think of it, it was probably just more of an audition tape so they could review them later if they were to decide to certain people. They're probably like checking off people who they liked and maybe they had the tape so they can go back and watch it again and, you know, get personality and facial expressions. I don't know, who knows. So I sit down and they tell me, tell them my name, what year I am, my age. So I tell them, then they're like, okay, if you were on the show, what would you want to be made into? And I still had no idea what the heck I was going to say at this point. So I literally said the first thing that came to my head, and for some reason the first thing that came to my head was like a motocross racer. So I told them, I was like, I want to be made into a motocross racer, and they were like, interesting, why? And I was like, shoot, I didn't know that they were going to ask me why. Like, I never thought about that. I never processed in my head. I thought I was just going to say what it was, and they're going to be like, yes, no, well, okay, bye. I had never taken the time to think about like why I wanted that. They were like, why? And they were waiting, and I just sat there and I stared at them, and I had to think for a second. I was trying to think, but I also didn't want to waste too much time because I know I didn't have much time, and I felt like if I took too much time, they would just be like, okay, next. So I literally said again the first thing that came to my head, and I was like, because you can go fast. And they just stared at me. Like, obviously you can go fast on a motorcycle, on a motocross bike, dirt bike. Why did I say that? I literally said like the one thing that made me sound like a 3-year-old. Like, they were like, okay, this person is not intelligent at all. Obviously this bike goes fast. Let's move on to the next person. Like, I could have been, it would be fun to be in a race. You know, I've never ridden a motorcycle before. I always thought it looked cool. I love how, you know, I could have said anything. And I said, because I can go fast. Like, you can go fast on so many other things. They were like, that's a stupid reason to want to do that, obviously in their head. So I'm like, oh my God. So they basically like smiled at me and they were like, okay, like, thank you so much. Like, can you like tell the next person to come in? And I was like, I blew it. So I left the auditorium. I didn't live far from the school, so I just walked straight home. So I was wondering who they were going to pick. They were only going to pick 1 person from my school, and my school wasn't enormous. So I was texting my friends and I was asking them how it went for them and like what they said, and I basically found out that like I was just as awkward as all of them and I didn't really act different than all of them. So I was like, okay, that made me feel a little better. Like, maybe I still do have a chance. So I went to bed nervous, woke up the next morning, you know, got dressed, went to school. You know, everyone's talking about how nervous they were and like, or they wonder if they did well and like who they're gonna pick. And you know, everyone's asking if anyone's heard anything all day. There's no announcements, anything. And like half the days goes by. Finally, there's an announcement They send a thing out. All the teachers tell us that they ended up not picking anybody from my school, and they decided to move on to another school, which is kind of sad because like there was definitely like over 1,000 people that went and auditioned for it, and they were like, no, all these suck. You know, didn't make me feel bad that I didn't get picked over someone else, because nobody from my school got picked. And now that I'm older, I'm kind of happy I didn't have a good response, because, you know, I'm kind of happy that I didn't get picked, and, you know, they kind of moved on, because I've heard horror stories where people sign up to be on MTV and HGTV, they sign the contract, and as soon as they do that, they literally have like no rights on the show, and the people literally tell them how they have to act, what they have to say, how they have to dress, like how to do things, and it really just makes people look bad, because a lot of times that's not really how they act. In these shows, you know, they kind of manipulate things. Their editors are so good, and they can piece something from like months back or weeks back and piece it with something you said yesterday and make you just sound like a jerk or just very rude. And who knows if they would have made me sound like a baby or something like that, you know, just for drama. I actually had a cousin who was on like House Hunters on HGTV, and so I know her story about it. They basically made her and her fiance like act nothing like they wanted, and told them the type of house they wanted, everything, which is kind of stupid, because like you're on the show to buy a house and they're telling you what type of house you should like that's stupid. Like I said, in the past they had recruited people from my school, and there was a kid a couple years before me who was on that MTV show like called like Queer Eye and the Straight Guy, something like that. I'll try to see if like those clips or episodes are on YouTube. If they are, I'll leave the links down in the description. You can go and watch them. If they're not down in the description, it's because I couldn't find them, so go see if they're there. I hope you guys enjoyed this story about how MTV MADE came to my school and tried to recruit people. If you guys have a similar story with like another MTV show or any other show, how they came to your school or your town and you auditioned and how it went, leave a comment down below. Let me know, because those are fun stories. You know, not everybody has those type of stories. Don't forget to hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this story, and subscribe to my channel, because I post videos every single day and I have lots of stories I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So stay tuned and hit that bell down below so you guys are notified every single time I post a video. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Until next time. Peace!